Well, guys, I think it's official. I think the UFC wants to kill Tony Ferguson or wants to retire him or something, or they hate him. I don't know what the hell happened, but oh my goodness. Not only was it enough to watch him, get his ass beat, absolutely destroyed by Justin Gaethje. Not only was it terrible enough to watch his limbs get ripped off by, Charles Oliveira, Beneil Dariush. Was it sad to see Nate Diaz do his thing? Was it sad with the front kick for Michael Chandler leaving there? Was it sad for Bobby Green to get his first submission and leave him laying there sleep? If that wasn't enough for y'all, now they're trying to put him up against Paddy Pimblett at UFC 296. Like, what are we doing, guys? Like, the disrespect that we have for our legends and our Hall of Famers and whatever. Like, regardless, and if you're a newcomer of MMA or the UFC in general, it's sad because you guys aren't even going to know who Tony Ferguson really was. This guy was 15-1 in his first 16 fights. He went on a 12-fight win streak in the UFC. Like, in the UFC, 15-1 of his first 16 fights in the UFC, and goes on the 12-fight win streak. And, this whole Habib thing, they both back out of the fight 6-7 times each. And, and then we're sitting there left. He just never got his big fight. And then that's when he goes on his 6-fight lose streak that everybody knows. But, man, it's just so depressing to see what we're doing to this guy. And when I say we, I guess I'm technically saying the UFC, even though I have no part to deal with this. But, man, it is just depressing, man. And as funny as it is, I actually kind of like the odds for Tony Ferguson against Paddy Pimblett, especially if it's the Paddy Pimblett we just saw fight Jared Gordon. And, he has been out for injuries and he blows up and stuff. So, he might have a little bit of ring rust, octagon rust, if that's a thing for a younger guy like him. But, in all aspects, he's not the greatest stand-up fighter of all time. And Tony Ferguson, even though, he gets absolutely slept by Michael Chandler, absolutely gets slept by Justin Gaethje, absolutely gets slept by, Bobby Green and all these people. All three of those guys I just mentioned, even though they're all losses, he did get knockdowns in every single one of those. So it's like, Tony Ferguson still got a little bit of bite to him, when it comes to stand-up. But I think the thing that really fell off for him was his grappling. When he was younger and able to, he was never really the greatest, dominant grappler or anything like that. He position grappler or anything, wrestler or anything like that. It was more so just his, awkwardness and his way to, his way to spin and, the twist and to roll out of, certain takedowns and to somehow end up on the back. And, he was still young and a little more fresh and a little more flexible and stuff. And I feel like that's really taken a hit these last couple of years. So if Paddy Pimblett can get anything going on the ground, that's probably his key to victory. But it's just, what they're doing, man. You guys know what they're doing. This guy, Tony Ferguson's 39. He's about to turn 40 in February. This fight's in December, so he's 2 months away from being 40. 6-fight losing streak. Instead of giving him another legend or something to get in there and to look decent against, they're trying to get him up there against the new up-and-comer who's coming off a bad win. Even though he did win, it was an ugly one. He barely won, and I didn't even think he won. And, he hasn't fought in a little bit, so they're really trying to build up that future at 155. And I'm telling you guys, man, it's just fucked up. It's just fucked up because, I'm out here, just the respect that I got for Tony Ferguson and just to see what the UFC does to this guy. And, people, nowadays, guys, people do not even a sixth, not even a seventh, not even an eighth of what these guys used to have to do to not even get title shots. 12-fight win streaks, man, unless your name's Bilal Muhammad, you can go on a 2-fight losing streak nowadays, and if you have the right mouth and you got the right line to speak and everything, you got the right amount of haters, you're going to get a title fight. Look at Chael Sonnen. Look at Colby Covington. Look at all these guys. Look at even Israel Adesanya, who's losing left and right nowadays, and he's getting all his rematches. It's starting to get a little out of hand here, if we're being honest, and it's just sad to see, dude. One of the biggest legends that we've ever seen just get absolutely disrespected in this route and just kind of sacrificial lamb. And I get it, too, though, at the same time. If you're going to be in the UFC, if you're going to be at the top of the game, you got to be willing to fight the top. And I feel like that's the one thing we can all agree on with Tony Ferguson. Whether you hate him, love him, you want to keep seeing him win, or if you just absolutely just don't want to see it anymore because you think he's going to lose. That dude's dog, he's got that dog in him, man. No matter what, his mental game, it might be wild when it comes outside of, in the, average life and everything. But when it comes to the octagon, he's got what you want, man. He's got that willingness to get in there. He's got that grittiness. And honestly, it's probably going to be detrimental to him. It's probably going to be the end of him. It kind of is the end of him already. He's never going to be willing to say no. He's never going to be willing to stop. And I think that's what's going to kill him at the end of the day because nobody's going to ever get Tony Ferguson to stop. He's going to want to do it forever. He's the guy that looks at it pretty optimistically where It's like, yeah, he did get slept by Bobby Green, who never submits anybody, but he did drop him. I did get front kicked by Michael Chandler, but I did drop him. Yeah, Justin Gaethje did fuck me up, but I did drop him. Oh, Charles Oliveira and Beneil Dariush, yeah, they ripped my arms off and my legs off, but I didn't tap. Tony Ferguson's going to go look at this all the time. Like, he was very successful against Nate Diaz, but come on, it's Nate Diaz. If we're being fair, it's older Nate Diaz. Like, he did very well with the leg kicks and the striking and just got caught with a submission on an awful takedown. But you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just, man, it's just sad to see. And it's just funny, man. I've been doing that. I think it's my 6th video now on it ever since his loss to Gaethje. Like, how many times can we witness Tony Ferguson die? How many times can we witness him lose? How many times can the UFC sacrifice him? Like, the Bobby Green fight, I feel like a lot of us were like, okay, it's fair. Bobby Green's a little older, but we all knew Bobby Green's got that power, and he's just been looking real good. He hasn't fallen off as much as Tony Ferguson has, and we just all knew that it was going to be bad. Like, even the Michael Chandler fight, everybody kind of had an idea that it was going to be ugly, but I don't think any of us thought it was going to be the front kick knockout like that. The Gaethje fight we all thought was going to be good. The Oliveira fight we thought was going to be good. The Dariush fight we thought was going to be good. The Diaz fight we thought was going to be good. So, like, it's just when it comes to this Paddy Pimblett one, even though I think this is his best chance out of his last 7 fights, it is really tough, though, because it's such an up-and-comer young kid who's still got a chin, who the UFC is going to be pushing. So it's going to be interesting to see. I'm not counting Tony Ferguson out in this fight, but it's just it's just an awful matchup, man. It just got you wondering, like, what do you really put work into this life for? You know what I'm saying? Like, for real, like, what do you do for companies to bend your back over for so many years? And I know Tony Ferguson hasn't been the easiest person to work with, but he has done a lot for the UFC in his years. And it's the same way we said with BJ Penn, go and die. They put him out to Yair Rodriguez. You see, guys, we see this all the time. We could name all the legends who go out there and just get absolutely destroyed. Anderson Silva got thrown out there against Jared Cannonier and then Izzy and all these people. Like, we don't give a shit about. Chuck Liddell going to get knocked out by whoever. It doesn't matter who's in there. You're going to get knocked out. Like, it's sad to see what these legends do, and it's not. You can't really blame the UFC, I guess. I blame them for this matchup because I think it's so damn terrible. Like, we all know Tony Ferguson's a loss away from being out of here. He should have been out of the UFC with the Bobby Green fight, if we're being honest. But, I had to come on here and talk about this, man, because it's whatever. We got 3 weeks without fights or 2 weeks without fights or something. So, and, I do want to take a moment real quick. If any of you guys are still watching, I really fucking appreciate it for real. And, just the amount of comments I've been getting, everybody shooting out nice words and, giving me their opinions on, different takes and what they believe about fights, giving me pointers about my, my recording and everything. Guys, this has been way more than I ever expected it to be, and I only got, 450 subscribers or something like that, which is way more than I ever thought, but I know it's nothing. But still, to me, it's all about perspective, baby. And you guys honestly have been making my life with this shit. It's a lot of fun. I already work my other jobs. I don't do this for money. I don't do it to be famous. I don't do it for any of that. Like, I'm not even saying I'm an expert out here. I literally just like talking about my favorite sport. And it's so cool that I can come on here and kind of just chop it up with you guys, and people actually care to comment back and share your opinions. And, I know I've touched a couple of you out there, not physically, but I'm saying, like, when it comes to the, that feeling of like, hey, I don't really have friends that know the sport all like that, but, it's nice to get on here and actually talk to people and know what the fuck they're talking about. So, at the end of the day, I'm always here. So you guys comment, do all that. I love it all. I don't care about the subscriptions. I don't care about the likes, nothing. It's cool to talk to you guys and really just to chop it up. So, as always, your boy, Stephen Moustaris, the MMA Short Show. And, leave a comment, whatever. Let me know what you guys think about Tony Ferguson. But let's go, baby. Let's go.